This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome aboard. The lovely and talented Steven Simcox alongside today. Took his family on spring break last week for a quick little turnaround in lovely Grapevine, Texas.
That's right.
The
cradle of the world. I don't know. I don't know what they call it.
I'll tell you, my wife loves going to their Christmas. Their little old school downtown is very cool.
Yeah.
It's done up for Christmas, and you can.
It's a nice city if you can get there.
Yeah, it is weird to go into like some shops at Christmas that have like Santa Claus stuff, and then like come and take my gun over my cold dead body shirts like right next to each other, like ho ho ho, like come and take it, son of a bitch. Like those are the two things. It's weird. It's just kind of weird.
The duality of man. And you there, two wolves.
Yes, exactly. It's just it's very weird. Like I remember like walking into a store and being like, yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta know where your bread's buttered, I guess. Right. Christmas only lasts a little while, but guns are forever, I suppose. I don't know.
10 months a year, it's just the FoxNews.com merch shop.
And then
November and December, we transition to Christmas.
Yeah,
which also kind of fits.
But if you need to still get a gift for that person,
for Uncle Jay.
But the shops are cool. They have delis and ice cream shops and good little restaurants and different things down there, butcher shops and farmers market and all that. So it's pretty cool little place. And you went to the Great Wolf Lodge, which has an indoor water park, which as a father of multiples, you have lots of kids. So
no, it's a good place. I didn't realize like Great Wolf is, I mean, it makes sense, but they're sort of like their own, they've sort of created their own universe. Like, I guess it's not on the level of Disney, but
you don't have to leave.
You don't have to leave.
Yeah.
There's a TV channel with just like animated, it's just their own animated programming that they put on. They have like, shows and stuff in the hotel, but it's great if you just want to go for one day and let your kids run around a water park and spend $30 on chicken tenders. But hey, it's the price of doing business. I mean, here's what it is.
I'll have a 3-piece chicken tender. You probably want the 2-piece because the 3-piece is $46. You don't want fries, do you? That's $51.
Are they big chicken tenders? No, we're just air frying the ones from H-E-B. Like you could at home. Okay, well, thanks.
We went to there's a Costco right over here. We just clean them out every morning.
You'll be hungry 30 minutes later.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever have you guys, because you grew up here in McGregor, did you guys, before they built the water park over here, have like a local water park at all?
No, I think Hawaiian Falls was the first one that ever came about. Is that right, Garrett? Do you ever remember a water park?
I'm trying to think of in Belton you had Summer Fun USA.
Yeah, that's true.
And then West had like that swimming pool with the zip line, but that's about as close as you got. We just went to creeks.
Yeah, we had a city pool.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like.
But you just probably go up to Wet and Wild or whatever it is now. I can't remember what it's called, but
Arlington,
Hurricane Harbor or whatever it is. But
our Schlitterbahn was a big deal.
Schlitterbahn's a big deal. The summer days at the water park were like some of my favorite, and I think parents like it because you can just like go.
Let them run.
Go. Hey, do you want to come down the side with me, Dad? Sure, whatever. Yeah, I'll do that. All right, you go now. Like, we've done it together. You go. I'll be over here not doing anything. Go ahead and like burn up all your energy. But now as an older person, like when I've ever gone into one and I'm like, did I really make my parents buy me like
a season pass to this?
A $17 lemonade in a Batman cup? Is that a thing that I was like, oh, I've got to have the Batman cup? And they're like, yeah, it's just Country Time lemonade in a Batman cup. And I'm like, no. Every drop of lemonade will taste better in a Batman cup. I don't know what your rusticated palate tells you. But
in fairness to you, with the humidity, it was probably like 200 degrees in Florida. So, I mean, you needed some sort of hydration.
We had a local one called Sunsplash that had 3 slides and a lazy river. And then, it's funny, when you're a younger kid and you go to Sunsplash, you're like slide, lazy river for a little bit, slide. When you get to 8th grade, 9th grade, you pretty much quit going to water parks when you're about 15, 16, but like those like 13 to 15 years where you can't drive, you're kind of dragged, like you and your same age friends that have little brothers or sisters kind of dragged there, but you're like, whatever, we'll park. You're just in the lazy river the whole time.
Yeah.
And like occasionally your buddy will be like, hey, let's go in the slide. It'll be hilarious, man. And then, but the rest of the time you're like just following girls around the lazy river.
I will say, I've kind of aged out. Well, not aged out, but there was a short window where I could convince my older two kids that like the lazy river was kind of like a ride. They like just sort of paddling in it, and I could sit in a float, and that was like the peak of luxury. I mean, it was like John Mulaney does a bit where he says when he was a kid, he thought the best thing ever was like eating a pizza in a limo, like in Home Alone 2. That was like the big thing that he did. Yeah. But that was it for me. And now my younger kids, my boys, they don't, they're not really at an age where I can take them in there yet. But yeah, lazy river's pretty great invention.
At the wedding, we got married in Hawaii at the Alani Resort in Oahu, and they have a water park, on premises. And so they have slides and a lazy river. And my best friend, Ryan, brought his son, Mac, who's 6 years old, or was, he might be 7 now, but he was 6, at the wedding. And so he loved the lazy river as like, that was his like, all right, I've been in the slide a couple times. I've been running around like where the little water like splash zone. I've been on the pirate ship. Now. Just need to chill for like 1 or 2 laps around this lazy river, And he was like, you put him in a tube, and then I would just kind of like drag him along, and then throw him under the waterfalls and stuff like that. And then apparently, that would wear me out when I was a kid. That was just like pouring like. It might be Monster energy drink in those waterfalls because all right,
let's go
slides again. Let's go. But he did take 2 naps outside in the sun because he was worn out. So
hey,
they have the value. If I ever do have a kid, I understand the value of a water park.
It's amazing. I mean, I understand it makes sense, but it's amazing they have water parks in Hawaii. You would think they would just be like, go outside.
Yeah. There's not slides into the ocean.
Slides.
So,
yeah, slides everywhere.
But yeah, no, like
lazy rivers.
There was a couple times where I was just sitting on the beach, and then like here he came up, like, do you want to go on the lazy river? Yeah, sure. It's only slightly more movement than I'm doing right now. So anyway, Steven, you had a great topic you sent me last night. You've kind of noticed Brett Yormark sprinkling his New York on the Big 12. The Big East tournament, RIP, and at least in its old form.
It still happens, but nobody cares anymore.
But it's,
It used to be a huge deal.
Yes. Like Lollapalooza. Now, what's the one? Coachella's come along and people have forgotten. But there's a huge deal, and that it was the best basketball conference. And as good as the Big 12 is now, I'm not sure it can ever really match the fever pitch that the Big East basketball tournament and the conference had, especially in the 80s and early 90s, which was just
stars. I mean, stars were everywhere.
Yeah, vicious too. Yeah. Every game was great. Every game had a lot. Madison Square Garden. You think Brett Yormark is trying to find that magical fairy dust and sprinkle it on the Big 12?
I think he is. I mean, he's obviously been very forward thinking. They're bringing in DJ Diesel, Big Shaq, to spin some tunes. They've got fun concession stand items. They've got musical acts. But I wonder, because you mentioned the 80s and 90s, and I remember some great Big East tournaments that were led by Kemba Walker, right? When they went on that run, Syracuse had some teams that went on great runs. And so Yormark is constantly trying to find out, okay, how can we close this gap between the SEC and the Big Ten and us? And it seems like he's identified basketball as one way to do it because the league's so good, also because he's a basketball guy. That's his background. But I wonder this, Paul. At a certain point, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but Kansas this year, Bill Self has basically said, hey, we're trying to get healthy. Hunter Dickinson, not going to play. Kevin McCullough, not going to play. Houston, I don't know what their motivation is going to be. Obviously, they're a great team. If they play to their full strength, they're going to be really good. For the top teams, how motivated are they going to be? And if you're going to make this a big event, do you need those teams to really care?
Yeah.
To have the star power and just the brand name, in the semifinals and the finals that are going to be like big events moving forward.
Yeah, I think so. And look, this year, it's one of those things that if the Big 12 tournament goes chalk, nothing's going to change. Mm-hmm. And if it goes close to chalk, nothing's going to change. And if it goes a little bit wonky, then one thing could change. But Houston's a 1 seed no matter what.
Yeah.
Iowa State's a 2 seed or 3, no matter, right. I don't think they're a 2. They're probably a 3 seed no matter what. Baylor's really the only one who could make like a significant jump.
Sure.
But they have to win the tournament to do so. And they've never done that before. Mm-hmm. Not even when they won the national championship have they done that. So, yeah, you do need to find a way to, and I do think it does have a lot of juice on it already, but you got to make it to where, look, Kansas plays Cincinnati today, and I don't think Bill Self will be mad at all
if they bowed out, yeah.
If they lose, because he's got to get his team healthy. McCullough and Hunter Dickinson are not going to play, so when you've got the team that's essentially the host team, which is Kansas. Because Kansas City, it's going to be insane there. Already you see, if you're looking at the UCF BYU game, I'll tell you, the stadium's more full than it would be normally for a game like this because Kansas plays next.
Right.
So, the Kansas fans are in. Now, when Kansas gets out of that tournament, they sell their tickets and it's, it's not a ghost town, but it's
significantly less.
It's not the same, right? So, which very rarely do they, if they're not there on Saturday, then okay, well that's kind of a bummer for the Big 12. But usually they get 2 full days out of Kansas. In the old days, now we're in the new era where this is going to be a week long now.
Yeah.
So next year they're probably going to play on Monday. Who knows? With 16 teams, but they just moving on down the line. You do want to make sure that there is more incentive and more more juice to it. I think so. And look, I know that they're staying
in KC
for till 2031.
Right.
I had opined, and I still believe this is true, that eventually he's going to try to. If he's there past that point, they will move this around somewhere else. Now, Kansas City is the absolute best place for this because they love basketball there, and Kansas is there, and you're always going to have the best team with the biggest basketball fan base, which is Kansas, is going to show up and sell those out. But I do think that he'll find a way, especially if in the next decade they wind up adding teams like UConn and Gonzaga. This thing's going to move. Yeah. It's just going to move. I don't think anything's immediate. And look, it was till 2028, I think, anyway. And so now they've extended it for 3 more years, which just gives him 3 more years to figure out how to get it done. So, but I do think he'll try to find a way. But because he wants more Big 12 stuff in New York, there might be a Big 12 weekend in New York. I don't know, where they just kind of do a tournament, like a Big 12 Big East Challenge or something like that. And they'll be we'll just do it in New York. We're on your home turf. We don't care. We want to be there. But, yeah, I do think he's trying to get that to it. And you've heard him going around this week kind of pulling the Greg Sankey on making sure the maximum amount of teams get in the tournament, which I think is twofold. One, that's his job. And 2, I think he wants to, tell the other conferences, if the Big 12 gets another team and they lose a team because of that, you see how that feels? Do you see how that feels? Sucks, doesn't it? Really sucks.
Can we apply this to any other situation?
Makes you feel like an idiot, like you're not really doing your job, right? Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it seems silly that I should be able to tell the committee that a team should get in just because of who they're affiliated with and not based solely on their merit. Sounds weird, right? Sounds like a jerk move. I mean, I just did it because I've only been a conference commissioner for a little while, and I've learned from the other ones that this
Following
is
your footsteps, Greg.
This is what you do. I don't know if you remember Garrett, do you remember the old "Just Say No" commercial?
Yes.
That was, what I'm talking about,
Yes.
where the dad finds the drugs, and he's like, "Who taught you this? Where did you learn it?" He's like, "I learned it from you." That was
That's intense.
Yeah. And then the dad's like, "Oh, I guess I've been doing heroin in front of my kid." Because it wasn't like a bag of weed.
No,
that one would have
hardcore.
That one would have but it was like a rolled up 50.
He skipped the gateway drug and just went straight to the hard stuff.
Yeah. So okay, so the 5 seconds of the day that the dad's loose enough to be like, oh my God, my kid's doing drugs. How would he found him? He didn't know this.
We watched a video in health class about how bad meth was, and after the end of it, I was like, yeah, meth seems bad. Like you clean your house, but other than that, it seems like a lot of bad things happen. Yeah. But there was a little vignette in there at one point where this girl's like walking down an alley and she gets somebody pops out and like stabs her with a needle, and then she's addicted to meth. And so for like weeks I lived in fear of somebody just like some person was just gonna come out and stab me like a zombie, just trying to make me part of their meth crew. I was like, is this really happening? Who's doing that? I don't think it's really happening.
Nancy Reagan really pulled a number on this country.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that meth and heroin and coke are good.
Bad.
They're very bad. But like, let's get some realism in the messaging. Like,
I don't think you're just walking down the street and somebody sends you down a path like that.
And then like leaves a business card. Like, hey, if you need more, call Remy.
All drug dealers have business cards. There's one thing we know about them.
Oh my God, I didn't like just go back and like wait to get stabbed again. Like, how did you know? I know I felt one way before this, and now I can only feel this other way after this. So,
Paul, if they moved it, would Jerry World make any sense, or is it just way too many seats in there that you couldn't?
Way too many seats.
Yeah.
Way too many seats. I mean, I'm telling you, the T-Mobile Arena is perfect.
Yeah.
We got to get you up there sometime, Steven, for that. You would, as a basketball junkie yourself, you would really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing I think. And look, the NBA is not like this, but if you have like an NBA, like when they were in the bubble and you could just sit there and like
watch them and
watch like 3 NBA games, I think that's one thing that they might be missing that they could do, especially with this
in-season tournament,
Michigas they've got going on here. I don't know. Like, I like the idea, but like,
yeah, it sounded like something that a video game like created.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I like the idea to like change it up, but like, okay, so what does this mean for June? Nothing. Nothing.
The point was to get casual fans involved, and it hooked nobody. Like. Yeah. Nobody who wasn't watching the NBA is going to be like, oh, they're doing like a weird mid-season tournament that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Sign me up for that.
So when it's like May 10th and we're starting there with May 1st, we're starting the playoffs. Like, does it mean anything? Oh, no. Not at all.
We just gave another title to LeBron.
Yeah. And then you ask Adam Silver, like, what's the benefit of this? He's like, well, soccer loves it. And you're like, well, we're America. We don't understand that. Like, all right, are we gonna have the metric system now too, Adam? Is that what we're gonna do? keep swimming up that river and see where that gets you.
Adam watched Welcome to Wrexham and was just like, okay, let's do this, guys.
Yeah,
I've got all kinds of good ideas now.
Yeah, they almost won the in-season tournament that first year.
They did.
Yeah, they did. Wrexham. So he's like, yeah, if I can get
Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney.
If the Spurs can do that year one, as bad as they are, yeah, that'd be great. No, I do think that basketball needs more light on it. I think it's the thing is people get super excited this month. Like, hey, it's March, it's basketball time, it's great. But especially in the Big 12, like it's pretty much like this every week.
It is. And I don't know I hate to say there's a lack of star power because I think there's great players in the league, but I do feel like there has to be more of a push of like, yeah, you need to know who Jamal Shedd is. Like, you need to know who Jacoby Walter is. Like, there's guys here that can play because, we're seeing with like with Caitlin Clark, we're seeing a renaissance of people are tuning in to watch her play, right?
Yeah.
Like we're watching Iowa basketball, but we're watching Caitlin play.
I hope that this continues for women's basketball.
Sure.
They're going to have to make sure people know who the stars are.
Yes.
But that's why people watch basketball, though.
Yeah, it is.
Like football, you do watch for the stars, but football is so ingrained and you watch for the team more so. Yeah. That's why LeBron James can go anywhere and people watch him. Yeah. Like, nobody cares where he is. He's still LeBron James. It's going to be it's the same way with women's basketball. You have to
have individual players.
And they've done, previous years, they've had, greats. But Lisa Leslie and Cheryl Swoops and the people who paved this path we're doing a huge disservice by not being like, hey, look how good these girls are at basketball. Right. It was just like, oh, look at that. She scored 48 points. Good for you, lady. So
So I think that's the big disconnect. But I do wonder, like, and I don't know how you incentivize it, because as you said, it's really just about seeding, and these teams they're playing for a bigger tournament title. But man, if they could get some, real great matchups, like teams that are highly motivated, then I feel like there's a great marketing opportunity for the league here.
Yeah, I do. I think that when you have that, you put more, like the biggest thing they need to do is, to me, like, make the tournament have a lot more juice, right? Mm-hmm. Like, find out how to make people excited about it. And probably how you get people excited for the Big 12 tournament is highlighting the regular season a lot more.
Right.
And making sure that they know that, like, pretty much on December 30th every year, this conference goes at it. Mm-hmm. And the conference tournament isn't a week. It's from December 30th until the conference tournament's over.
Right.
Like, that's really what the conference tournament is. And particularly for the Big 12, that's how it is. It's like that in other leagues, most of the time, but not all the time, pretty much all the time in the Big 12, and they've got to, like, he's trying to steal a bit of the SEC's marketing formula of, like, hey, we're the best at this. We're the best at this. You've never, like, and the difference between it and the thing he says is that there's a Vanderbilt, there's a South Carolina, there's somebody coming around. Like, even, like, if you watched Oklahoma State or West Virginia play yesterday, like, there were moments in that game where even though that wound up being bigger scores, like, they didn't quit. Like, there was not you couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, West Virginia, Cincinnati was a great game, and it was on ESPN Plus. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't really think anybody outside of the Big 12 saw it, but I mean, it was 89-86, like a high scoring basketball game. It was a really good ball game.
West Virginia woke up this morning and fired their coach.
Yeah.
So, like, and the last game he played in the conference tournament was a good game against a bubble team, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that needs to be highlighted more, is that, like, you're not going to see, dud versus dud in the Big 12 tournament.
Right.
Especially not next year when Arizona comes in.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. And now Arizona State has to get better. They've got to stop being so up and down. Utah, Colorado, kind of same thing. Colorado's, like, never, like, terrible, but
they're a bubble team this year. Yeah. But I think we saw, and it'll be hard for all these teams to carry it over, but, I mean, we saw with UCF, BYU, Cincy, and obviously Houston, but they were already great. Yeah. But those three schools that were kind of like, oh, they'll really struggle. I mean, I guess they struggled. They're at the bottom of the conference, but they're still good teams.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good basketball teams.
I mean, ask anybody who lost to UCF that, like Texas or Kansas, that's like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be our
bye week.
This is supposed to be the one where, like, okay, we get UCF tonight, and then we play Houston on Saturday, or we have UCF tonight and we play Baylor on Saturday. This was supposed to be the one where it's like, all right, well, we can get deep into the bench maybe a little this one. And no, Johnny Dawkins is like, no, I'm not playing around, guys. No. Like, this is you're not rolling into Orlando and rolling out with an easy dub. That's not the case.
That's not how we roll.
If you want happiness, go to Disney World. Like, that's not.
It's a good line. They should adopt that.
That'd be a great sponsorship. Like, if you want happiness, go here.
To Disney World.
Yeah. Otherwise, like that's the best part about the fog, is that you have to take heed, pay heed to all who enter the fog. And it's very foreboding.
It is. And the environment lives up to it.
Yeah.
Like, and so the officials.
I'm surprised that they don't have, like, an actual pope of basketball that just, like, comes out like a little basketball pope mobile.
Delivers the game ball or something.
Delivers the game ball, says some stuff in Latin, and
already gives, like, 2 fouls to the opposing team. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
You got 2 personal fouls already. Sorry.
You're here now. This is what it's like. Believe me, you're going to hear whistles. Get used to it. I'm going to get in trouble for that, aren't I?
Probably so.
Yeah, I'm going to get in trouble for that one. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. When we come back, the Cowboys have not been informed that free agency has started. Apparently, the phones are down in Frisco, Texas. Internet lines, everything else. Nobody's done that. So I'm sure there's agents that have been calling, like, I just can't get Jerry and Steven on the phone. I'll just leave a message on the Facebook page and see what happens. But all right, well, I guess you're going to the Eagles, Saquon. Jerry didn't call back. Anyway, we'll talk about that next. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Okay. Before we get to the Cowboys, I have to vent about something. So we are having in less than a month, the totality over Texas. Apparently Waco is going to be one of the best places to see the eclipse on Monday the 8th
I've heard it's a big deal, yeah.
It's a huge deal. There's a lot, like hotel rooms booked out. Mm-hmm. So my wife had me go online. She sent me a site to order eclipse glasses from. So we can look at the sun or the moon or whatever.
Yeah. What's actually going to happen?
I don't.
Garrett, do you know?
I don't.
It's a total
I don't
eclipse.
Really pay attention. It's supposed to be dark or something.
It's a total eclipse over Texas.
Okay.
So it'll be dark for a few minutes, and then it won't be anymore in a weird time where it's not normally dark.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen all the time. It's, we should enjoy these events.
It's like True Detective Night County in Texas for 2 minutes.
Yeah. So I went on and I bought these things, and I did not uncheck the promotional emails box. So since that time, 2 weeks ago, I have gotten nothing but spam because this company that sold eclipse glasses sold my information to everyone. So I've got nothing but spam. I'm getting spam calls, like all these things, nonstop since that moment. And now I hate the eclipse.
I had a guy, I don't know who this is. If you're listening, sir, I'm angry with you. A man named Robert, who apparently signed up for the Affordable Health Care Act, and I guess he either accidentally or on purpose put my phone number down as his contact information. So now, during open enrollment every year, I get about 17 million phone calls and text messages from different agents being like, "Hey, Robert, can I help you with your health insurance?" And it doesn't matter what I say. I'll tell them I'm not Robert. I'll text them I'm not Robert. I guess it's probably just auto-generated. So it's probably some AI thing that doesn't pick up on names. So they just keep sending me the same messages and calling me every day. But I'm sorry, Paul. Have you tried to block these numbers, or is it just different?
They keep coming and I keep blocking. I mean, like I can keep doing. Like I can do this all day. I've told many political texts from both sides and a couple of independents. I'm not interested in giving you any money for anything.
Right.
I did tell one person, I'll give you a choice. I can give you the money, or I can post a video of me online flushing it all down the toilet because it's the same thing. As a matter of fact, if I pick the right social media platform and get enough hits, I might, flushing that thing down the toilet while showing your stupid campaign, make money on it.
Make a little cash. That's true.
So, here's a $100 bill that you just asked me for. It's gone down the toilet. Let me see if I can at least make it back before whatever your stupid idiot candidate is going to tell me he's going to do for me. Or I will troll them to no end about their particular candidate. Or I'll take the side of the candidate, and I'll go so extreme that they're like, well, he didn't really stand for that. I'm like,
come on, man, be all in.
Yeah. Listen, too many rabbits in my yard. What is he going to do about that? Huh? Where does he stand on rabbits?
I'm a single issue voter.
Listen, if you don't tell me where this senator stands on rabbits, you get none of my money and not my vote. Because otherwise, I'm going to talk to the other guy who I guarantee you has a strong position on rabbits. I've had one sir, I don't I don't really think we've talked about it. Like, well, you better get to it because
figure it out. Yeah.
Listen, you don't do it in 2024, 2026, it's coming back around. You don't solve the problem. You're gonna lose your seat in the house if you don't deal with the rabbits.
Dude, this eclipse thing is crazy. So my kids are out of school that day.
Yeah.
Garrett, are your children out of school that day?
They're out of school that day.
And I mean, I've known it was a thing for a while. My in-laws are coming into town. My wife dropped that on me the other day.
Yeah.
She's like, they want to come up and see this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I saw like a list. I guess it was from a local news outlet. And it looks like hurricane prep. It's like, be ready for insane traffic. Like stock up on all your supplies.
Yeah.
Be ready for data and, internet outages.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on? Everybody's driving here to see darkness?
Yeah. Make your blood sacrifice to the moon god so that we have a harvest. I don't know. It's weird. It's a lot.
Can you guys just set up a live stream and everybody stay home?
Yeah. Like where is the best place for me to see it where I'm not going to hit traffic? And here's the thing. That day, the best place to see it in Waco is apparently right here where we're going to be in the middle of the day.
That's fantastic.
That's gonna be awesome.
So it's going to be a little problematic for us here at the studio, I would think.
I would love for somebody to walk in the door, like some confused tourist to just walk in while Smokey's in the middle of talking about something. Oh my gosh.
I'm here for the eclipse. Is this the eclipse office?
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did that, man.
Oh, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. We need to get a sponsor to like give out prizes like, you're the 5th eclipse idiot who's walked in the door.
Here's a moon pie.
Yeah, there we go. The eclipse brought to you by Moon Pie. Moon Pie, not for diabetics. But, all right, so a thing that only comes around once in a while is a total solar eclipse. Mm-hmm. And a thing that comes around every year is the Cowboys letting the first part of free agency come and go without doing anything. This would not really be a problem, and I don't think it's a huge deal if every other team in the league wasn't like doing stuff, and especially the ones around them.
Yeah, in their division.
In their division doing things that I don't feel are excessive. Like, there have been years where like the Jaguars go out and sign, like they just get the list and like, hey, we have $90 million in cap room. We're going to sign the 7 best free agents. And then that just winds up that doesn't help them at all because they're not supplementing. But the Cowboys are in a place where they need to supplement their team. Dak's window is closing. I don't care what they say.
Yeah.
And you've got Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb that you've got to get done. You've got Dak you got to get done. You've got all these things you have to get done. But right now, as we are 3 days into free agency, they don't have a starting running back. They don't have a starting left tackle. They don't have a starting center. Mm-hmm. They don't have starting linebackers right now. I mean, unless you already counting DeMarvion Overshown to come back from the ACL and start. They don't have a third cornerback. They, so that's a lot that they don't have. But they did re-sign their long snapper, so
all 3 phases, baby.
So that's a thing that happened.
Special teams.
But they are asleep at the switch here, I think, a little bit. And I don't think
compounded by the fact that, and we all know how Jerry is, but Jerry made his famous all in comments. Yeah. We're all in this year.
We're all in. Okay, well, what does that mean? And I don't think that they should be going out and signing 4 huge free agents. But bringing Tyron Smith back seems to me it would have been a smart move considering they weren't going to do anything else. And you can always draft his replacement coming up. And it gives you better depth. Signing a running back is something you're going to have to do no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether you're planning on drafting one or not, you're going to have to sign one because the only one you have right now is Deuce Vaughn. And, Tony Pollard, gone. You weren't going to bring him back. Fine. Tyler Biadasz, your center, gone. You weren't going to bring him back. Fine. But what's your answer for all that? And as you move forward, knowing you have no idea, like if a guy who fits you is going to be available when you pick in the draft, and they don't have a lot of draft capital to exactly move around yet, they're going to have to. I mean, this is like, to me, they're picking at 24, and I've done a ton of simulated mock drafts just to see the exercise of guys that might be there that fit them and positions that might fit them. I think this is a trade back draft. I think they almost have to because they need more picks because they're going to fill it out. Now, this year they're going to get some compensatory picks, at least 3, maybe 4, depending on what else happens down the line. But if he's all in and trying to win a Super Bowl now, like somebody needs to tell him, like, sign Patrick Queen and Saquon Barkley and then get 1 and 2 year deals everywhere else.
Yeah.
But, like, go get the guys who are going to help Dak Prescott get over the mountain, because if you're married to Dak, do everything in your power to take the pressure off of him.
My frustration is twofold with them. The first is, stop talking to me about the salary cap. I understand the salary cap is a real thing. Like, it's a real number. You got to stay within the bounds of it. But it's also something that you can manipulate. Like, stop talking to me about the salary cap like it's my wife and I making our budget. They're not going to turn the lights off in Cowboy Stadium if you sign a free agent. And I understand you got long-term deals coming down the pipe. As you mentioned, you got to get Dak figured out. You got to get Mike Parsons, CeeDee Lamb. Well, then figure it out. Be proactive and try to do that so you can have more flexibility to spend. And the other aspect is they act very elitist about this. Like, it's not only that they don't sign free agents, it's they have this aura about them now where they're like, well, we don't really get in this big, gold rush that everybody else is involved in. We like to build through the draft. We trust our scouts. That's fine. You are not a smart organization. Like, this is not the Patriots of a decade ago, where if they cut somebody, even if it was somebody who was productive, you were like, okay, I guess Belichick must know that this person's over the hill or they're not worth this money. They're not the Packers. Like, they are a team that hasn't made an NFC title game in almost 30 years. And so you can be frugal. Like, you can be the team that's not going to break the bank and spend and try to build through free agency every single year. But you're literally losing starters off a team that got blitzed by the Packers in the playoffs last year, and you're not getting better. I mean, you'll have the opportunity to get better in the draft, but as it stands now, your team is worse than it was when the season ended. And you have to do something. I mean, you have to be somewhat active and find replacements for these players, and you can't do all of that just through, bargain barrel signings and 4th and 5th round draft picks. It doesn't work like that.
No, absolutely. Alan on the chat room was like, hey, Josh Jacobs is a Cowboy. I'm like, no, I mean, like, unless that, like, in his free time, he's decided to take up calf roping. But no, he's a Packer. He is a Green Bay Packer, and Aaron Jones is a Minnesota Viking. Yeah. So again, there's a guy they should, in a 1-year deal, they should have signed Aaron Jones just so they don't ever have to see him.
Sure. And it's like, it's 1 year, $7 million. It's not a crazy investment.
Yeah.
And I understand, okay, you can't go get Derrick Henry, or you don't want to go get Derrick Henry because that's a longer-term deal, whatever. Okay, well, go
2 years. He had 2 years.
Yeah, but go get Aaron Jones. I mean, like, it's just, what are you going to roll into at running back with next year? And honestly, like, as you said with Dak, I like Dak Prescott, but I think it's been made clear to him, or it's been made clear to us, that he is a quarterback that functions at his best when he has a good running game with him and a solid offensive line. He's not like, top echelon guy who can advance everybody else around him and elevate everybody else's play. He needs a good supporting cast. And Paul, they have now, like, you can have your qualms about Tony Romo and Dak Prescott, but the Cowboys have twice now had the dumbest luck. Like, Romo was an undrafted free agent, who they stumbled upon because they had some injuries at QB and had some guys that were over the hill.
Yeah, they got him over the Broncos.
Yes.
Because he wanted to play with Bill Parcells. Like, that was the thing. Like, Tony Romo was like, well, I think I'll give it a go with Bill Parcells. Or I guess not the Broncos, the Saints. Like, Sean Payton will be there waiting if I can always maybe go there. He knew he had options if he didn't make the Cowboys. And then he just watched old guy after old guy after old guy. And it's like, well, might as well give this kid with some athleticism a shot.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they got Dak Prescott in the 4th round. And Jerry's been on the record basically saying, oh, yeah, I wanted Paxton Lynch that year.
Yeah.
And he's also said they had to basically hold me down so I didn't make the call for Johnny Manziel. Like, in both cases, they had QBs on rookie deals, or at least, not really a rookie deal at that time with Romo, but at less expensive than normal, and couldn't really build around him. But then still, like, once they got them signed, they have guys that are highly motivated to be Cowboys, and they can't find a way to get this whole puzzle to work. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And I think what Jerry's forgetting is that the reason that they won 3 Super Bowls was that they had, like, the triplets, and they had that great defense too, but they had all those draft picks. And he's trying to build to the draft again, which I totally agree with. That's how you build teams, is for the draft. You supplement through free agency. But the pick that was the best one, even over the all-time leading rusher in the NFL, was Troy Aikman. he was the first pick in the draft. He was their first pick as Jimmy and Jerry. So the likelihood of you finding a Tom Brady, of which they almost did with Tony Romo.
Yeah.
But Romo had his limitations. Dak has his limitations. And they've done almost good enough to like hide them all in both those guys, but eventually the teams with the better guys that got picked earlier usually beat them. Aaron Rodgers beats them. Brett Favre beat them. You know, like those are the guys that beat them in the playoffs years over years over years. And they just were like, you know, like they're kind of sticking to this. So, but they're also never going to be.
They're never going to bottom out.
They're not going to bottom out. Jerry can't do it. You know, like Jerry cannot do it. And they're looking at a cap situation right now over the next 2 years where this would be a time where most teams decide to. The Colts decided to do it a couple years ago. They knew that they could, like, they knew they had no financial path forward to making a good team. So they tried to do their best with what they could sign and move forward and wait till they clear it and move on. Now, look, salary cap jail is kind of a choice. Like, you can choose to put yourself in it. You can choose to work your way around it. I think that Jerry and Steven, this is the disconnect at the top of the Cowboys. Steven has taken over the cap, and he is so terrified of it that they don't do these things. And so then Jerry, who if he woke up tomorrow and there was no salary cap, would be, you know, spending money like, you know, like Michael Jackson in the documentary where he's like, we'll take that and that and that and that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, we'll take this thing and this thing. He wasn't even looking at things. He was like this and this and this.
They'd
like,
be the Yankees.
Yeah,
the old school Yankees.
They'd be the old school Yankees for a minute because he would just go, all right, well, you know, doors open, come to Jerry World. You know, you know, the water's warm, you know. So, they, you know, they're just never going to, that's never going to happen. And they're also just always one little step away. And if you're all in, then one of the things all in is maybe stop a guy who is the missing piece of your rival who's been to the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game a whole lot more than you have over the last 30 years. Maybe stop him from going there. Maybe you don't have to play Saquon Barkley twice a year. Like, maybe you're not scared of Saquon Barkley because you beat him most of the time, but he was also playing on a crap team. Now he's not.
Now he's in Philly, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now he's in Philly. So that's a different thing. Like, you know, you cannot respect the Giants and what they're doing. I get that. They've just made terrible decision after terrible decision for a long time. You're not afraid of Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. If that's the only thing you had to handle with the Giants, that's fine. Well, this is the Eagles, man.
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, like, they, even with the collapse last year, with those two guys in the backfield, with Hurts and Saquon, they could legitimately have the best power rushing attack in football, like just day one.
Yeah.
If both those guys stay healthy.
Yeah.
And that's just part of it. I mean, there's also the other aspects of their games, but just on a basic level, they're bigger, faster, stronger than your guys.
Yeah. And here's the thing. They knew that Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce were getting towards the end. And sitting on the roster were their replacements right there. Mm-hmm. Well, the Cowboys knew that all these guys were going to be free agents. Where's their replacements on the roster?
Right.
They're not there. You know, like, so that's the difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Eagles are playing chess, the Cowboys are playing checkers, you know, and the Eagles are playing 3D chess, and the Cowboys are like they're not even checkers right now. They're playing Go Fish.
They're playing shoots and ladders.
Shoots and ladders. Yeah. Yay! Oh no, I fell down.
Jerry's just rolling a dice, hoping for the best.
Yeah, and it's just over and over again. And if they had been anywhere in the realm of Super Bowl contention for the last few years, this strategy would be fine. But since they haven't been, like, maybe you got to change up what you're doing. Because your draft strategy is actually pretty good. They're pretty good. They're pretty darn good at the draft. Will McClay has set them up. They're pretty good at the draft. They hit more than they miss, which is what you want. But you can't just say we like our guys all the time. Like, sometimes there's a guy out there who's better than the guy you have, and go get it.
Yeah.
And they've mostly done that through trades. Like, they did it last year with Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore, and maybe Gilmore comes back, maybe not. But Brandon Cooks, I think, worked out for them eventually once they kind of figured it out. And I think will work out better now that they won't be probably, you know, here in the next few weeks and months. You know, Michael Gallup's not going to be on the team. They got to clear that contract. So once they clear Michael Gallup, like they're probably going to be better at that position, I would say, because he's just fallen off. But again, like here we are, like, you know, I know it officially starts today. Maybe Jerry has a problem with legal tampering. Maybe that's a line he won't cross. I don't know. But there's some guys out there, but particularly like there's some guys out there that they can sign will make them better. Like if they got Hunter Renfrow, I think that'd be great. Like that'd be a fine little signing for them. He could probably fit in well and do some things and get some first downs. And they haven't really had a guy like that since Cole Beasley, you know. But I think he's better than Cole Beasley. But but there's a couple of positions where the good guys are gone.
Yeah.
They're just gone.
Yeah, they're just out. You missed out on the boat.
Yeah, and so you better hope that rookie you bring in, especially at running back, is a stud
and can play right away. Yeah.
This is not a running back class that has a Bijan in it. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm very partial to Trey Benson. I think he'll be a good NFL player, but I don't think I don't know if he's Bijan or not. Like, I think he's a really good player. He's really fast. He's really strong. Breaks tackles well. You know, but, you know, Jonathan Brooks, really like Jonathan Brooks coming off the ACL, so that feels like the guy they're going to draft because that's what they do.
They love a good injury history.
Yeah, they like a good comeback story. Like that used to be was baseball players. Jerry was obsessed with baseball players for a while. Yeah. Quincy Carter, Chad Hutchinson, Drew Henson. Yeah, loved all the baseball players. Then he got off of that kick and he's like, no, you know what? I want guys that you could make a Disney movie about. You know,
you got drop foot. When can you start?
Yeah. Just doctor after doctor going, I don't know. And then the Cowboys team doctor going, listen, I am not discouraged.
Remember when Jalen Smith, like at the height of the Zeke negotiation, just snuck in there and got a deal done?
Yeah.
Like he just went in the office and was like,
brilliant.
Hey, could I get paid right now? And they were like, okay.
Yeah, we like you. Then from that point on, Jalen Smith became Tony Robbins in the locker room. And let me tell you, at first it was kind of like, well, this is going to be a good soundbite. And then it was like, you guys just lost to a team that's not going to make the playoffs. Like, I don't need a motivational cat poster right now, Jalen. I need to know why you didn't make those tackles.
I'll give you a clue. It's because of your drop foot. Why did Lamar Jackson shake you out of your shoes? Because you got one working foot, bro.
The Cowboys like, drop foot, that's a fake thing.
I saw it. It was very real.
It's not a real, that sounds like something that's from a Peter Pan.
My man was galloping, but not very quickly.
Yeah. But he had that one season where
he was great.
He was great. And he had
I still vividly remember, I mean, it's a play that doesn't matter, but like Deshaun, they were playing the Texans.
Yeah.
And it was 3rd and goal or 4th and goal. Deshaun Watson's trying to get to the pylon on the sideline, and Jalen Smith,
sideline to sideline, ran him down. Yeah.
Ran him down. Shot out of nowhere, hit him physically, on the sidelines. Great play.
Yeah. And then he became richer than his wildest dreams.
And his linebacker mate, Leighton Vander Esch, good player.
Yeah.
All kinds of neck problems.
Yeah. And now he's going to have to retire.
Now he's going to retire probably.
Yeah. I just think Jerry has this thing where the doctors come in and he's like, listen, we believe in you. You can do it. All right. He's seen Seabiscuit quite a bit.
I mean, all due respect to Jalen Smith, but that was a rough season here.
Yeah, it was. It was. And it's always that one decision that derails the Cowboys more than anything. Because you go back and you're like, well, what continues to happen to them? Well, they get teams in 3rd and long, and then they'll find who Jalen Smith is covering and throw it to him. And
not a bad strategy.
Yeah.
It worked.
And then they're like, why does this keep happening? I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Here's your sign.
Here's your sign. All right, when we come back, a real quick NFL draft rapid fire. Let's talk about the Chargers because they released Mike Williams and saved over $20 million in cap room. A guy who is injury prone and a wide receiver who's probably going to come cheap. Oh, his phone, Jerry might actually pick up the phone for him because he's very talented, but also very injury prone. Again, a Cowboys staple. This is the triple option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
So I do think that the Chargers, Steven Simcox, Locked on Horned Frogs, by the way, like, subscribe, and go find his podcast as well. Even if you're not a TCU fan.
Yeah, just subscribe.
Just subscribe.
It doesn't cost you anything.
Doesn't cost you anything.
I won't send you emails or anything.
Look, there's going to be a day where you're like, you know what? Something's going on at TCU. Who should I talk to? Or who should I listen to? And it's Steven.
It's me. Yeah.
I mean, he's going to give you some good info about what's going on at TCU, including what I think in the spring is going to be a very interesting quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Because it either works out with Josh Hoover or they're calling somebody in the portal.
Probably so.
Yeah.
They brought in Ken Seals from Vandy. I think that's more of like a vet backup option.
Yeah.
But big year for them. Big year for a lot of teams in the Big 12
Yes.
with kind of a clean slate.
It is. Look, this is everybody starts anew.
Right.
Everybody this is a new day, a new life for them. All right, so the Chargers pick at 5. They have to get under the salary cap today by 3:00 Central Time. So they've got about an hour to do it. And they've already released Mike Williams. They're trying to probably work on restructures for Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack and Keenan Allen, who also have huge cap numbers. In fact, of the 12 biggest cap numbers in the league, they had 4 of them going into today and seemed to be pushing it to the deadline of getting those figured out. And they can't, any of the players they've already agreed to contracts with, which Gus Edwards, Will Dissly, a couple others, can't be signed until the cap until they're under the cap. So I trust that they have a plan that's just not been fully revealed to the world yet or announced. But they do pick 5th. They have a quarterback already in Justin Herbert. They have a big left tackle already in Rashawn Slater. I'm assuming they're not going to cut Joey Bosa as one of the. Khalil Mack might see his way to the free agent market because you're spending a lot at one position. But Joey Bosa is probably back. And I would think Keenan Allen's probably back because you want to at least keep one target. They drafted Quentin Johnston last year, so they should expect him to step into that role that Mike Williams vacates. They have a couple of guys who are good, like Josh Palmer and whatnot, that are good players. I'm not sure who the free agents, but they're a really good trade down candidate for me and load up on picks. Or they're let's take Brock Bowers and see what happens. But Jim Harbaugh's running this team now, so I don't know what they'll do.
Yeah, I was looking at some mock drafts. I see Malik Neighbors there, which, I guess if I could definitely see you're not going to pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. if he falls to you at 5. Maybe Neighbors in the same situation. I do wonder. I know they have Slater, but with Harbaugh being a physical coach, could you take Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame? Do you just solidify that offensive line and be like, we're going to make it a priority to protect Justin Herbert? But you're right, Paul. Trading down might be the way to go. There's not just a glaring need, and I feel like there'll be a lot of teams that maybe want to go lineman or wide receiver at that spot and could go up and get it done. But, it's going to be fascinating to see, what Harbaugh learned. I don't know if learn's the right word, but kind of –
he's got to get a running back, too.
Yeah, what he took from his time in college and coming back to the NFL, what he values the most. Because they're sort of in a wide open spot. You're probably, what do we think, Paul? First 3 picks, quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think it might be the first 4. because I think there's going to be somebody who's desperate enough, like the Vikings or maybe the Raiders, to trade up and do it. And that's all like, and again, the Justin Fields question has gotten really a lot more confusing in these days. Like, I thought the Steelers made a lot more sense for him, but they went with Russell Wilson. And so I don't know where Justin Fields is going to wind up.
Doesn't sound like there's a market right now. I mean, he's going to end up somewhere, but it just feels like everybody knows they're kind of over a barrel with that.
Yeah, or they just don't want to give them what they want. Yes. And they're going to wait until they draft Caleb Williams and then see what else falls out. Like, can you get the guy you want, or do you surrender some draft picks over there? And I don't think they want it, but I do think the first 4 might be quarterbacks, and the 4th one I think will be overdrafted. And maybe they prove me wrong, but I do think 2 of the 4th one, that's whether it's J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix, will be overdrafted. And look, maybe all 4 of them will be overdrafted. This is a pretty decent top 3 quarterback class where you've got 2 Heisman Trophy winners and a guy who probably, had he stayed this year, would have been the favorite in Drake May, I think. So, but yeah, 2 Heisman Trophy winners in Drake May, and then the 4th quarterback is the guy who won the national championship this year. So, the 5th quarterback is the guy who he beat, and the 6th quarterback is the guy who that guy beat twice. So.
So I'm not going to go stupid and say they drafted QB. They're not going to. But do you think Herbert's overrated, or do you just feel like he's been totally mismanaged?
I think he's been totally mismanaged.
Okay.
I think he's totally mismanaged. I think that Jim Harbaugh, and again, they'll figure that offense out and do something that's better for him, which I think has been the big thing with him. Like, they're just not done that right, and they've had other players around it. And like, their late game, like, the reason they've lost so much is because the late game decisions that Brandon Staley were making were just ridiculous. Like, I get being aggressive, and it's smart to be aggressive in modern football, but like, there is a line where it's like, you're up by 13 here. You didn't really have to do that. Like, 16 means they have to get 2 2-point conversions. So go ahead and kick it.
Yeah.
Like, to me, and I always think of, it's a 2-score game, but really when you're 16, you're a 4-score game. He never thought that, because you got to run 4 plays to get in the end zone. Like, that's what you have to do. But, I think he's been mismanaged. I just think it's going to be interesting with Jim Harbaugh. I think he's going to do well because he was good in San Francisco.
He's great, yeah.
Yeah, people don't maybe realize how good he was. Like, there, getting to the Super Bowl, and then, everybody kind of getting old at once. The Colin Kaepernick became less effective as a starter, and then that whole situation changed the world. But this draft is going to be interesting to see what they do with a new coach and a new GM, and not needing to get a quarterback and sitting 5th, knowing that nobody's going to trade up to 5 to get a quarterback unless one of those teams ahead of them doesn't choose one of those 4, and the Cardinals don't trade their pick away.
Yeah.
Maybe the Cardinals just really love a guy and they're going to take him at 4 because they've got the other pick at 27, and the Cardinals have so many draft picks. Like, you can honestly see them be like, no, we're just going to take the best player at 4. Like, that's what I might do. Like, I've got a ton of draft picks. Unless you're going to send me a player with it that's going to help me right away. Yeah. I'll stay at 4 and take Marvin Harrison Jr., or whoever I think the best wide receiver is to help out Kyler Murray. But yeah, they're in an interesting spot. They're a very interesting spot. I would be shocked if Blake Corum is not
a pick,
a Charger eventually, in the 90s somewhere, Yeah. But at 5, I think that they're in a good spot where they can kind of sit back and go, okay, well, the Broncos, are you desperate enough for a quarterback to trade your picks in the division? Vikings, their plan was Sam Darnold right now, so good luck, guys.
I just can't imagine. I mean, he might be more flexible with personnel than I am giving him credit for, but it's just hard to think that a Jim Harbaugh team wouldn't have a good rushing attack. Not even necessarily a great running back, but just having the run game be a focal point of that offense. Yeah. No matter what they're doing. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, would you like to hear my impression of every Minnesota Vikings fan watching Sam Darnold as the starting quarterback? Yes. Jeez. Jeez. Cheese and rice. What's going on here? What's this guy about? I can't take it. Jeez. Jeez. For the love of Pete. So, pretty good. I like it.
It's a bad quarterback, don't you know? Justin Jefferson's mad now. Hey, Wade, what you watching? Darnold.
Oh, poor Vikings fans.
Yeah, I know. It is sad that my whole view of the state of Minnesota, even having been there, is still the movie Fargo.
It's Fargo. Yeah.
It's still Fargo.
we all have stereotypes, you know.
Yeah. I mean, look, here's the thing. It's not that far off. Like sometimes you'll watch movies about places. Like I see this every time somebody from outside of Texas makes a movie that has like a scene that takes place in Texas, and it's like everyone's like, "Woo, doggy! Hey, partner, welcome to Texas." And you're like, "No, not really how we are." I mean, there's a little bit of that, but
there's
like
some of it. But
there's some of it. Like this may be like a drastic 1950s like version of what's.
Somebody's racing out there.
Yeah, no, we got smoke from wheels.
I heard about our Eclipse talk. They're trying to get in position about a month early.
Absolutely. So, yeah, no, there's that. But, Minnesota movies can be that way or things, whatever. Chicago, there's a lot of, the kind of Chicago accent. But I do think that movie pretty much, only puts about 5% more, push on it. Just so it's clear, it's kind of clear what culture you're in Minnesota. So, but yeah, that's my whole perspective. Because I was there for 8 days, and the whole time snowing and cold, and all I could think of was like, "Hey, Wade, what you watching?" Or like, "Hey, you wouldn't have an extra ticket for that? You kidding?" The True Coat, they put that on the factory. All I could think of the whole time. All right, Stephen, thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Glad you had a nice, relaxing trip to an indoor water park last week.
I am too.
Yeah, good deal, and hope that you can recoup the money lost on $31 chicken fingers.
Got to keep working hard.
Yeah, just get a couple more mortgages out there.
That's right.
Man, Stephen had a big week this week. Yeah. Chicken fingers, man.
Yep. It was Great Wolf Lodge chicken tenders put me in the red.
All right, this afternoon we've got our old buddy Matt Brown. Again, great column as he does pretty much every day on what the NIL hearings in Congress meant. The NIL roundtable meant yesterday. Mitch Sherman of The Athletic on Trev Alberts, Nebraska AD, on his way to Texas A&M to replace the recently departed Ross Bjork. He didn't die. He just went to Ohio State. So about the only job you could take that would pay you more money than A&M will. Yeah. But Trev Alberts leaving his alma mater, who he was helping rebuild, to go to Texas A&M to be the athletic director. So that's a very interesting development today. Mitch Sherman will talk about that. Darby Brown, live from the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City at 4:40. Kevin Flaherty, college basketball writer, at 5. Evan Miyakawa, who's, look, if you've not been to evanmia.com, if you've been, Evan. Evan's great. His numbers are great. It's really going to help you make sense of what's coming here in the next week with March Madness. And, of course, my top 5, of which I have not done yet. So I will do that now that we have some time off before the show. See you guys at 3. Thanks, Stephen. Bye.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together,